Hello everyone and warm welcome to all the participants once again. Now I would like to introduce one of the emerging regions in France where business is growing very fast. The Toulouse has its footprints worldwide. France is one of the most modern and highly developed countries in the world. It has one of the largest economies and the country is a leader among European nations. So let's have a brief overlook on the business happening in Toulouse, France. Presenting business opportunities for American companies in Toulouse, France. Placed in the region of Occitanie, the entire area of this region is 118.3 kilometers square, with a population of 102 million and a GDP of 44.876 billion USD. Toulouse is an amazing place. Let me tell you, GDP by sector is divided and led by service industry, followed by industry and then agriculture. It is the fourth largest city in France and France's second university city. With over 130,000 students and 15,000 foreign students and first French city in research, Toulouse is quite amazing. The import and export trade compared to the year 2020 are as following, and these are the prestigious research organizations present in Toulouse. Talking about the advanced manufacturing sector in France, as you can see, compared to the year 2010, it is quite promising looking forward to by the year 2022. The Industry 4.0 concepts accepted by the French company is as following, and the main strategic application fields are smart and connected city, robotics and drones, languages recognition and bots, mobility and ITS, and many more. Talking about the aerospace sector in Toulouse, which is quite astonishing, a district of 56 hectares dedicated to innovation in aerospace and embedded system, 9,600 square meter offices for innovative companies and 1,600 square meter public incubator, connected by 2 subway stations of the future 3rd metro line. The aerospace museum facts in Toulouse are as following. It is a home to Airbus and other aerospace companies, hosts several museums in aviation. Air Museum has over 40 model aircraft, and these are the top aerospace engineering institutes in Toulouse. The aeronautic companies in Toulouse are as following, like world-class companies like Airbus, Thales, Safran are present over here, and these are the space companies in Toulouse. Let me talk about the IT and ICT sector in Toulouse. The key strength is in big data, of course. Cloud computing marketing is growing at the rate of around 25% per year. High performance computing simulation is a key component, with over 20,000 jobs are at stake in telecom sector. Talking about Toulouse France's excellent center in artificial intelligence, there are 150 companies with 17 labs, 9 technology platforms offering cutting edge equipment and over 1,500 plus industrial employees. The IT companies present in Toulouse are as following. Here are the trade fairs and exhibitions that are conducted over here, which are highly recognized, and these are the associations and chambers associated and present with Toulouse, France. Thank you so much.
Moving ahead, I'd like to introduce our silver partner, Invest in Toulouse from France, inviting Ms. Kathleen Champion to present about Toulouse City and explain the opportunities for business in Toulouse.
Up. I don't know how to. There. Okay. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Caitlin Champion, and I'm the Economic Development Manager for the City of Toulouse at Invest in Toulouse Agency. Today, I'm going to present to you some opportunities for development in Toulouse. There will be a focus on subsegments such as automotive, aeronautics, additive manufacturing, and R&D. But before talking about all of that, it might be a good idea for you to better understand what and where is Toulouse. So in terms of accessibility by plane, it's really simple. There's a plane every 20 minutes from Charles de Gaulle or Orly. It's important to note this is the most frequented flight in Europe with 2.3 million passengers a year. Otherwise, you do have the train either from Paris of a little over 4 hours, or in Barcelona, it's 3 hours. And then these aren't all of the flights that do direct to Paris, but this is a pretty good idea of direct flights from Paris to the Americas. In order to truly understand where Toulouse fits in terms of business opportunities, we need to look at the standings on a European scale first. So, for example, in 2019, France attracted more FDI projects than any other European country, so that puts it ahead of both UK and Germany. And what does this look like in numbers exactly? Investment has gone up 17%, bringing in 1,197 new projects. And in Europe, the top 3 sectors of investment were as follows. So digital at 19%, business services at 12%, and then transportation at 7%. But in terms of the sector that created the most jobs, it was transportation by a long shot at 23%. So as you previously saw, Toulouse is located in southwestern France near the Spanish border. It's the capital of the Occitanie region, so the region that we are a part of. So it's 4th in France in terms of population, but it's number 1 in a lot of different categories, including net job creation. So it's been this way for about the past 9 years. We're also first in economic growth, R&D investments and expenditure, and first in terms of talent retention. So what that means is the amount of students remaining in the area upon completion of their studies, which is great in terms of the ease of recruitment in highly qualified talents. And in terms of industrial investments alone, France has been number 1 in Europe for, I want to say, 10 years. And the region that is number 1 in France for industrial investments is the Occitanie region. So the region, again, where Toulouse is located. And we are also home to the largest industrial site in France called the Aeroparc. And one of the reasons the industrial sector is so successful here is its willingness to work with all together, basically. So these come together under the TOMPAS. This is an association that has 25 of the most important industrial groups and institutions coming together. The entities primarily represent these 3 sectors: aeronautics, embedded systems, and space. And the industrial and regional chambers of commerce are also involved in order to represent small and intermediate-sized companies. The main objectives are to work together to bring in state and regional funding, and also work together on different European projects to gain funding in that way as well. So given our industrial ecosystem, you will know several key players are present here. You can see on the left column people like Airbus that have their global headquarters here. Thales is number 1 worldwide in air traffic control. You also have players in automotive like Continental that has its digital services HQ here in Toulouse. They're most notably working on the eHorizon project, which is a European funded project to ensure that vehicles are safer and more connected. And then, we have people like Alstom and Safran who also have their global center of excellence here in electrical rail systems. So in terms of transit, we're very well developed. But we also have other major players in other industries you might not necessarily think of initially, such as Pierre Fabre in the health and cosmetics column. They are the second largest dermo-cosmetics company And then in the last category, we have Capgemini. So along with many others, but I wanted to point out Capgemini because the tech integration is a very big deal here. Given our industrial nature, digital transformation has become a key focus for the area, and Capgemini has their largest contract established here in Toulouse with Airbus. So when people talk about the industry in Toulouse, as I had already said, they will probably mostly think about aerospace. The city actually hosts all forms of transportation. Initially, the French government, when they started decentralizing all of their industries from Paris, Toulouse was selected initially for aeronautics. It's the place that in France, this is where the world's first air courier line was. So we'd already had aeronautics going, and then from that we were able to develop into automotive, and then all the way up into space. Kness is here, it's the French NASA, basically. And it's our know-how in these types of industries that led Hyperloop TT to establish their European R&D test track here. So going into automotive, it's very well represented here in Toulouse. We have the entire supply chain present. In manufacturing, you can see many companies that we've already mentioned. You have NXP, which is a Dutch-American semiconductor company, but their automotive department is located in Toulouse. They also work on secure and connected smart vehicles. In vehicle maintenance and recycling, you can see companies like Easy Mile. This is actually a tech unicorn based in Toulouse that has the first 100% autonomous shuttles. In energy and infrastructure, you see a lot of other huge energy conglomerates. Bouygues, for example, has a very huge presence here. And then lastly, there are some examples of system services and solutions. There are two automotive players in particular I wanted to put the spotlight on, as they are two local players at the forefront of digital transformation and all around innovation here. So the first one is Actia Group. They're highly specialized in manufacturing of electronic components and that are used to manage systems in automotive, telecom, and energy fields. So their automotive division represents nearly 90% of the group's consolidated turnover. It was built on their activity is built on two historical parts of Actia, so onboard systems and vehicle diagnostics. The second one is Continental. So this is a German player that develops pioneering technologies and services for sustainable and connected mobility. So Continental Automotive, like I said, they're a German company, but they chose Toulouse, France for their French headquarters. And Continental is also famous because two of their factories have won the French Factory of the Year awards. Both companies are heavily invested in digital transformation and have highly automated factories dedicated to manufacturing and innovations. Just to give you up. And then on the next slide, so Totem in Toulouse, the automotive sector all comes together under the regional cluster known as Totem. It gathers ground mobility industrial players specializing in design, test, manufacturing, etc. And the cluster allows for the regional players to combine sources and increase the state and regional funding for bringing in major projects. Altogether, the cluster federates 200 companies, all dedicated to sustainable and intelligent mobility. And pretty much all the companies I've previously mentioned are members of this cluster. So to kind of summarize everything concretely for automotive, this represents 82,000 jobs here in Toulouse, of which 12,000 are industrial employees, and then 60,000 are in transport and logistics. There are 240 companies. It's a 3.5 billion euro market total, and they all come together under the Totem cluster that I just presented to you. And then shifting gears, we do have to talk about aerospace, as it is our bread and butter. Airbus has its global headquarters here, but it's not the only reason that we are Europe's aerospace capital. As Europe's aeronautics and space capital. The respective industries host their entire supply chain here, a lot like what you just saw in automotive. So in aircraft manufacturers and final assembly lines, we have major players such as Airbus and ATR. Then there are some other design manufacturers and OEMs. Safran, for example, specializes in propulsion and electrical systems. We also have some MRO and cabin services, and then several innovation specialists. These are just a few. We couldn't fit them all on the slide. So in total, there are 1,000 companies alone that are in the aeronautics sphere in Toulouse. This strong presence is what allows for manufacturing from start and finish to all happen in one place. And thanks to this, we had, I believe, 939 planes delivered in 2019. And on this slide, we also have an important breakdown of facts and figures in the space sphere alone. So one thing to really note is that 25% of all European workforce is present in Toulouse. We are home to the CNES, the French National Space Agency, and it's also home to the French Space Command. This is an internal component to the French Air Force, and they deal heavily in the development and implementation of military and aerospace policy. So again, to summarize aeronautics and space for you, concretely in Toulouse, we are the leading pool for jobs in the fields of aeronautics. In total, we represent 124,000 industrial employees, and a third of all French aerospace workforce is present here. The market value has an accumulated worth of 10 billion, of which 1.35 billion is dedicated to R&D expenditure and funding alone. And these companies all come together under the Aerospace Valley Cluster, which I will present later, which gathers around 900 members. We can't talk about the industrial sectors without touching upon additive manufacturing. So again, the region covers the whole production chain from supply of materials to manufacturing of machinery, design software, production, post-treatment control. All plastics, metals, and ceramics are handled here. You can see in manufacturing, we have companies like PrisMed in the Occitanie region, a joint venture formed between Yamaichi Steel Special, that's based in Japan, and PrisMed Group, which is based in France. They specialize in metallurgy and 3D printing for aerospace, defense, automotive, energy, and also in the medical fields. We also have Fuel Object in this category, which is a Toulouse-based company that uses additive manufacturing to develop tools and electronics to facilitate the integration of handicapped people and differently abled people into society. In software, we have companies such as 3D Trust, so that brings security, traceability, monetization, and standardization to 3D printing. This is actually a spin-off of Airbus BizLab, the acceleration program that's run through Airbus. Then again, research organizations. There are a few examples which I will not delve into, but I'm happy to talk about later. In terms of research institutes, we have the IRT Saint-Exupéry, which is one of 8 technological research institutes created by the French state as part of the Investments of the Future program. Since its creation, there have been 33 projects that have been undertaken, and this is totaled in about 332 million euro in investment. The research is carried out under 4 strategic domains, including high performance multifunctional materials, more electrical aircraft, systems engineering and modeling, and intelligent systems and communications. So all of this going back to the primary industries I just presented to you. In terms of material testing, we have the Styrimet. So this is the Inter-University Center for Material Engineering and Research. They've developed a scientific strategy based on the balance between top-level, internationally ranking academic research and partnership-based research aimed at innovation. So they specialize in the 4 following areas. And the lab houses 240 employees, 90 doctoral students, and signs on about 100 project contracts a year. See that there? All right. And then, so again, many of the aforementioned companies come together via the Industry 4.0 Solution Club. The main objective of this club is to accelerate synergies and strengthen and develop the ecosystem of solution providers in the industry across the following axes. Up, and you can see 200 companies are involved with 90 full-time members. So I wanted to touch upon innovation campuses because in addition to being introduced to the local players here, another way to get your foot into the door to different European projects would be primarily through our different innovation campuses present here. The first one I really wanted to delve into was Villagina. So in Toulouse, in 2019, Toulouse was selected as France's national campus for intermodal and smart mobility and related services. So the initiative is hyper-focused on things like smart infrastructure, autonomous vehicle, both ground and air, testing, cybersecurity related to it, anything to do with autonomous vehicles, this project will deal with. The program will inject 165 million euros into the development, and the goal is to have successful projects deployed worldwide. And then on this slide, you can see their main areas of focus. So you can see that the strategy is to focus on co-collaborating on projects with key players in the local ecosystem. It works a lot like the totem cluster. And it's worth noting that the entire project will be conducted at Francazal. This is a former military airport, and it's now today the place where a lot of these ground and intermodal testing is done. This is where Hyperloop TT has their European R&D test track. It's also where Easy Mile, the Toulouse autonomous shuttle unicorn I mentioned earlier, does testing on their shuttles. So yes, all of this will be done through the Francazal Mobility Park. Shifting gears a bit in terms of AI. So the French government created the 3AI initiative. This was to invest in digital transformation using AI. And in Toulouse, we developed the NET, so the Artificial and Natural Intelligence Institute of Toulouse. This has been designated as France's national campus for hybrid AI certification. So what will this look like exactly? First, there will be 200 researchers from about 145 different research labs. It will cover over 50 partners from startups to major industrial players. In total, the investment is going to bring in around 225 million euro. And the expected projected startup creations will be at about 100 startups by 2023. And the main areas of focus will be on environments and autonomous vehicles and smart mobility. And now just to briefly touch upon the Aerospace Valley, which I mentioned a bit earlier. The Aerospace Valley is our global competitiveness cluster dedicated to aeronautics and embedded systems. The cluster has around 850 to 900 members, representing 124 industrial employees. And within the Aerospace Valley, you will find the District Acceleration Program. And And then in terms of labor pool, this will also be something very important to consider if you are looking to invest in Europe and in France. So something I had already mentioned earlier, we are the #1 region in terms of R&D expenditure. This is largely because of our aerospace and space presence, but it goes into other categories such as pharmaceuticals as well. We are the first city in terms of talent retention. So in terms of recruiting qualified talent, this is very important. And just to give you an idea on the map, so it's kind of hard to see, but this is France in the red circle, and then you see the regions in blue. That's us. So in terms of tax credits, so France nationally has a second to none R&D tax credit, which makes it very attractive for companies of all sizes to do R&D here. They have a 30% off R&D expenditure tax credits. They also they subsidize, I should say, innovation at about 20%. This is more attractive for SMEs, for example. But then in the bottom kind of middle, if you can see the young PhD credit, this one is extremely attractive for companies who are having difficulties recruiting highly qualified talent, because the state government actually subsidizes any PhD candidate's salary for up to 2 years. So basically, it incentivizes companies to hire this highly qualified talent at no cost to the company. And it also is ensuring job security for these PhD candidates. This is just a brief glimpse. There is also tax credits at the regional level and even at the municipal level that we'd be happy to discuss with you. And then who are we? How can we help you? So as I mentioned, I represent the Invest in Toulouse agency. We are the economic development agency for the city of Toulouse, France, and we're basically here to serve as a liaison between you and future business opportunities, free and confidential support. Here's just a list of some of the services we can provide, but primarily what we do is we assist you in B2B introductions, so to your potential future clients or partners. If you have a more advanced project, we're here to help with things such as site selection or recruitment. We can help with family relocation, immigration, anything that you need to do a business in France, we can assist with, or we have the contacts that we can introduce you to. If you plan to be in Europe all this year, I know it's a little difficult with COVID, but here are some of the events that will be held here. We're happy to provide you with entrance to any of these events if they are deemed pertinent to your activity. Here's some more in manufacturing. We'd be happy to further discuss your technologies and see if there isn't any synergy we could spark between you and our local players here. This is my contact information. Don't hesitate to reach out. And I just wanted to quickly thank Crescendo as well for helping organize this webinar today, and I look forward to hearing from you guys.
Thank you, Ms. Kathleen, for explaining about Invest in Toulouse and opportunities of business expansion in Toulouse City. For the next session, please stay tuned for Invest in Seinäjoki from Finland. We shall be back again.